Today our discussion will be rather interesting. And let me introduce myself. I'm Alexey Nazarov, the head of Global Strategy Group in Russia and CIS. And today we are discussing the roadmap for industrial exporters. And today we have Andrei Slepnov, General Director of Russian Export Center, Vasily Asmakov, the Deputy Minister of the Industry and Trade, Alexander Borychalov, the head of Udmurt Republic, Alexander Shatilov, the trade representative of Russia in Algeria, Alexander Abramov, trade representative of the Russian Federation in Sweden, Mikhail Akim, vice president of the ABB company, Dmitry Kogan, the deputy director of Yuma Tex group, and Pascal Renier, strategy and business development vice president, Samara Electroshield. And as an introducing, I would like to say that today, in today's situation, the development of the international trade has a new beginning, new stage, when the international trade, when we see that the new situation, new protection policy, and new trade wars on the main market on the world, in the USA, between the USA and China, creates new possibilities for Russia, actually. And of course, the competition is growing today. So we can say that the national project that exists in Russia today is more important than ever, and we should support all the projects that are to be exported, and we should support the growth of the exports from Russia. In June, we had a council, an advisory board of the president of the Russia, and Andrei is the director of a key institution of the export development, explained to him what is the new architecture of this export development, and what tasks do we have, what projects do we have in terms of the export. Thank you very much. You know, of course, that here, as I see, we have the people who know the situation. Our aim towards the year of 2024 is to double our export. And where are these numbers taken from? There are a lot of discussions about these numbers because we have to fulfill this, and it is divided between the industries, and the chiefs of the industries have received their tasks. But the logic of these numbers is that as follows. During the last 7-8 years, we have discussed, after the crisis of the years 8 and 9, we have discussed that we have to reorganize the economic model, and it is required to have something bigger, to have more. And our country shouldn't just eat up its oil and gas incomes. We should invest these incomes and to establish sustainable growth and sustainable development for our country in the non-resource industries, exporting the fabricated goods. And so the commodity export is the main direction of our development, and this is how we should invest our oil and gas incomes. And so this is the change of the model of our economy. Is it real or not? Of course, the times are changing, and we have the protectionism, we have the trade wars, and plus we have sanctions. But is it real to have 250 billion of rubles of export? But the success of any project is the faith that we can achieve such results. When we analyzed this, we have been analyzing it during all the spring and in winter also, and the advisory boards were worked in June. and there were a lot of people working on this project. And the first number, we have studied the rating of countries depending on the export of commodity goods for one citizen, and we are on the 73rd place after Honduras and before Dominicana. So we are somewhere between these countries. And if we want to double the export, we will not even catch up with Belarus. Of today, even. I will not speak about the Belarus of tomorrow, because this country is also developing. I am not even saying you about the USA and China. If we look at the numbers there, and even if we think about China, there are a lot of people there, but this country is 24th in the world by the export per citizen, per one citizen. So that's why we have been meeting with the different experts, and experts said to us, do you understand what you want to achieve? And these experts think that our country doesn't even know how to trade. And they said to us, we don't know how to trade. We just can't do that properly, and you want us to work in the international market. But this is the sense and the core of this project. We have to raise our export ambitions. And during these sessions that we have held, we have communicated a lot with different businesses, and especially the middle enterprises. They don't think about themselves as a global market players. They are restricted by regional ambitions or just by federal ambitions, or perhaps sometimes they think about the CIS. But really, nobody thinks about international global market when they are developing their products and when they are planning the expansion on the market. But sometimes I see these enterprises to think about the international market, and on the forum in St. Petersburg, I saw, for example, some enterprises that were saying that, please support us, yes, we are ready to export. So I think Alexander will say a bit about it today, and we saw this because perhaps of weak ruble, and some companies are entering the international market and they have success. And these examples are very precious for us. And something about our national project. I will not go into details because we are going to say about it more a bit later, and it is still developing. But I can highlight several directions. Of course, firstly, we have to find some instruments that can allow us to work with enterprises. It's not really global. We shouldn't think about the macroeconomy, about global problems, but we should think about the tools to interact with little enterprises, because this result doesn't suppose that we create just conditions and the enterprises will grow by themselves. No, we have to find tools to help them to grow. And we have to work with the enterprises themselves. Also, we are working on these peak tools. So the location of the support measures is being discussed. And we are also discussing the measures for support for innovative enterprises or enterprises oriented towards export from the beginning of their activity. We have so-called new champions on the horizon. We are supporting them and we are hoping to help them effectively. And also we have to fix the measures of the state support, and we have to organize the measures of support by Russian Export Center. And also we think that we should support the enterprises in terms of the tax policy and in terms of the regional policy. If we talk about the regional enterprises, here we actually have great plans of working with the regions, of course, and we are planning to begin some pilot projects which will help the enterprises to go to export. Today we have discussed already some programs about the productivity of the labor, and there is already a flow of enterprises that are aiming toward export. So the process is going on, and we have the product that we have to send further. And we are working with the big banks, with the corporations. So we have some partners that can provide us with the clients, with the enterprises that can work with export. And also the key role of our center is the construction of the network, the construction of the system that can be worked within. We are working with the Ministry of the Industry, and we are producing the platform on which the enterprises will work and on which we will gather all the projects. And just several words about the regulational measures. It will be difficult to work without regulatory documentation, of course. We have some measures, and we have also created some measures about the currency control. And we have decided that in terms of the currency exchange regulation, we will drop some regulatory measures and control measures, and it is already fixed in the Presidium of the Council. And also we have to decrease the fines for the violations of these currency regulatory measures, but if we are not saying, of course, about some crimes. We have a lot of data now, but the banks and the tax services have a lot of data, and we have to provide these organizations with a platform to interact and to interchange by this data. If we talk about the VAT, we have to get rid of the paperwork here and to change it into the electronic format. We have created some measures about IT industry and about all the services. So I hope that in the nearest time we will create an electronic system of the VAT taxes. Also, another direction of our activity is the stimulation activity of the metal works and export of timber, and also we have some stimulation projects of the processing of carbon dioxide. And also another direction here is logistic. We have actually a lot of questions about logistics, and we have a bunch of measures about the development of the railways network and the network of the roads. And I hope that we will succeed here. And the cost of logistics is a very important question because the railways and the ports are rather expensive. And here we will have to take some measures. Now we are working on a role of some measures and some decisions here. Perhaps we will work with the ports of neighboring countries because it is important, the logistics here. And it is a very difficult and serious task for us because our production is not located as in China, for example, because China was oriented towards export from the beginning, and their production is situated near the shore, near the ports. And the Chinese are saying to us, for example, that, you were not right to place your production here because it's 70 kilometers away from the coast. And somebody actually was put in jail in China because they have given the permission to build the production very far from the port, like 70 kilometers. But here in Russia, we have bigger distances, and it's very difficult to transport produced goods to the ports. And the last but not least, it's the reorganization of the agricultural policy. And this is the main task for us to be decided, to be resolved. And the measures of regulations of the export are very important. It includes the Commission of the Replacement of Import, the Commission for Regulations, and different initiatives in the frames of different state institutes. We should be oriented towards the export, towards the concurrence, and in this case, we will have some results. And we are very glad that the Ministry of the Industry is working with us in this perspective. So I am glad to give the floor to Sergei Semakov.
Thank you very much. Now I come back to you. Andrei, how realistic from your point of view, and how realistic is the attainment of this goal? What I can say is that we have to break away from Honduras, actually, and we have to go further. You see what we've done in football. We went to the quarterfinals even, and I think that speaking of experts, it's going to be even a bit easier to do that. An important thing here is to maintain macroeconomic conditions that we currently have. We have a pretty good currency exchange rate. It is advantageous for exports. Good positions on inflation, interest rates are fine. I think these are very important conditions. Over the 4 months, we had a growth for energy exports. I will now give you some examples. Compared to January-April 2017, the growth was 27.4% for non-commodity markets. And it is even exceeding the overall and average export growth, including oil. Despite the rise in oil prices, still non-commodity and non-energy export is exceeding the average export growth. And the volumes are growing. Our industries are now receiving the results of their efforts. They've started working on this actively about a year ago or so, and the more good examples there are, the more there will be those who follow them. I think it is very important to launch and to implement all those initiatives. We have to have a well-defined policy, a very well-organized regulatory framework. The financial and technological measures and policies are to be clear and understandable. We understand that after we have all these forums, we have to actually go and enter foreign markets, and then you need certification, you need to receive access to foreign markets. It is well to see our colleagues here, and I think that we will have a lot to discuss. Thank you very much, Andrei. Now we will continue discussing national projects, and we will speak about processing industry and industry as a whole. Vasily, what do you think are the main tasks that the Ministry of Industry is setting ahead of itself? Good morning, everyone. We do have clear and well-defined tasks. The presidential decree, in fact, defines clearly what are our export targets. For industrial products, what we have to achieve is by 2024, the volumes are to be 205 billion. All these figures are very optimistic and they're ambitious. On the other hand, the structure of our export is quite conservative. Over the last couple of years, we see that there is growth in non-commodity exports, but we see that it is not changing its structure. When we look back at these figures, we can see that we have not yet reached a desired level of non-commodity exports compared to 2013. And that is why in the next couple of years, the figures of 10 to 20% are realistic. And then, until 2024, we have two stages of development. They're divided into 3 years. The first one, according to the current pace of growth and according to the potential that we have now, we can attain our objective. And I spoke about that with Andrei, and I know that we are not really looking well at the development of our industrial companies because some have never worked on foreign markets. And sometimes those who start exporting reach figures of 50% of exports. And there are many examples like that. And those are various goods, from fridges down to gas turbines. In the first 3 years, we think that we will have a very fast pace. Then a very serious goal will be ahead of us to create new export-oriented facilities and products. There are certain infrastructure hindrances. There are some constraints in terms of product portfolio, in terms of the facilities that we have. And we have a possibility to overcome these difficulties. If we look at the structure of our national export program, the majority of support measures and finance measures is looking inward, is looking domestically. The target is to create global industrial companies, and this is of great importance. There are 3 main ideas actually, and one of them is to funnel all the support to global companies, to global industrial companies. But our market is huge. Our internal market is huge when we compare ourselves to other countries, and we still have this development on our agenda. And the main target for us, beside reduction of the administrative barriers and expansion of various measures, is to prepare ourselves for an export leap and to create very good competitive advantages, especially in those niches where we're not even looking at now. Various people from the ministry can say that the government is ready to support initiatives for export-oriented products. Even if you're currently not looking at that, even if you now think that that is too risky for you, looking for possible support measures, for example, working with the trade offices or adjusting regulatory framework for a specific project is the example of an opportunity. And I think that now we have a very good way for all these opportunities, and you can act now. We have very stringent and serious goals, and all the main measures will be soon well defined, and you have to be quick with defining what you want to do. Thank you very much for your presentation, Vasily. And the most important thing that is needed, except for these large support measures for industrial companies, what are other measures that can be done? You now sound similar to one of the advisors to the president, because he's asking questions in terms of each product item, and we're trying to reply to him all the time. For each single market niche, there is its own solution. The driver of this growth should be chemical industry and forestry. When we look at chemical industry, we need to redefine what we produce. Then we look at the transportation hindrances and what problems are in terms of logistics. Pharmaceuticals, for example, or any other high-tech consumer products. What is important is certification and to access the market. There is also a very particular problem. The support of plain transportation, because pharmaceuticals go bad quickly, and it is a very expensive transportation way and method. For heavy industry and machinery, another important thing is to try using the potential of defense sector so that they start producing more of civil products. The National Export Program, in fact, is a new economic policy in itself. To achieve these goals, we have to redefine and update everything internally and externally. It is not only the matter of subsidies to the logistics sector, it is the question of creating an export-oriented national policy. There are a lot of industries, they're all different: commodity goods, stock market goods. There are very many recipes for success. That is why it is very difficult. Thank you very much for your answer. We have discussed federal perspective on export development. Now let's turn to businesses. What does the state have to do, and what do businesses have to do to develop? Dmitry, I would like to start with you. Yuma Tex is one of those who exports even more than you sell internally. Please share your experience in terms of investment support measures, and what does the state have to do to obtain the targets that are set by the government, and what are the support measures that are most relevant for you? Thank you very much for your question, Alexei. I will be brief. I will tell you about Yuma Tex Group. In the beginning, we have 5 factories that are all united under a single brand. We produce carbon fiber and materials made of carbon fiber. This is one of the most high-tech products. We work in polymer composites industry. We actually are now looking away from the commodity exports. The price for oil is $400 per ton, but the fiber, the polymeric fiber that we use now costs $3,000 per ton, and the fiber itself costs $60,000 per ton, and some materials that we produce are very, very expensive. So this is a highly value added product. In 2014, our facility in the special economic zone, Alabuga, that produces carbon fiber, started to work in full scale, and we started dealing with a very complicated market in the beginning that was China, and it's hard to access that market. The prices are low, the competition is high. The advantages of working in this market is that you learn fast how to work on such a competitive market, how to organize your value chain, how to manage your costs. Currently, our products are present in more than 15 countries. I cannot give you the exact figures of our exports last year, but our revenues from exports were several hundreds thousands dollars last year. We are export oriented. It is clear that we cannot load and use the full potential of our facilities working internally only. Russian market of composites accounts only for 1% of the global composites markets. That is why we look at experts in the first place. Regarding support measures, we work actively with the Russian Export Center. There were several activities together that we've done. We participated in the Jack Composites exposition in Paris, and we are grateful to the Russian Export Center because they subsidized this activity for us. We do definitely have joint issues to resolve. For example, we entered European market. The market is looking good, but the problem is the logistics. You have your production in the Czech Republic, but your client is in Austria. But if you spend 10 cents per each kilo of material for logistics, that is quite well. But if you have to deliver the same material from Saratov to Sweden, then it is no longer feasible because of the logistic costs. Some other examples, we had trade offices in Italy, and that allows us to actually save something on the logistics. But when we want to export further, we do have a lot of costs related to transportation. Another matter is certification, and there are two areas where we have concerns. The first one is the direct certification. When we want to enter a European market, a product is to be certified by a German institute, for example. Then we get the certificate and we can operate in the German market. Sometimes we are an exporter that is working not directly. There is a flagship project for our industry. We participated in the MS-21 aircraft construction. Now we are trying to substitute a lot of materials to have domestic materials in use. And this product itself, this plane, is to be certified by the European Aviation Agency. All the materials are to be certified as well. And the producers of this plane tell us that we have to certify our own materials. And that means that we have to run tests in foreign labs to obtain these certificates. This means that we are not exporters ourselves, but we have to comply with the export rules. This is something that we have to work on, and we have to create something for this as well. I think this is it shortly. Thank you very much, Dmitry.
And we return to the previous question. What new measures of support would you like? What do you need to double your production and your export in the next 6 years, for example? So if your colleagues will help you with the certification, laboratories and logistics, how can it help to double this export, or isn't it enough? Well, for us, today it is enough, because we are living in such a paradigm that if you have a good product, the market will accept it. So we will need some help here. But what are the peculiarities of the European market? You can be supported by the state or by some institutes, but if your product doesn't comply with the requirements of the European clients, you will not get anywhere. Thank you very much. Mikhail, please, the ABB company is the international technological leader, and your business is present in more than 100 countries. You are very good localized in Russia. What measures do you need to expand more actively to build the international production chain? What do you need for your engineering center in the Kaliningrad region? Thank you very much. Could you please give me the switch for the slides and the presentation? Thank you. I would like to tell you about what we are doing in Kaliningrad and what the support measures are necessary for the region of Kaliningrad. It is the first engineering center of such a scale here in Russia. In Russia, we have 7 production platforms, and one of them, the last in Lipetsk, was constructed for the export. But I will not stop here because it's clear and it has been discussed, it is being discussed, but I would like to point your attention to what do we need to export the engineering competences. So, in 2 words, just for you to have an impression of what I am speaking about. Our company is working on 2 directions. Firstly, it's the automation, and second is electrification. These are complex projects, turnkey projects for different industries. And traditionally, it was built as follows. This industry, the oil and gas industry, pharmaceutical industry, shipbuilding, and so on, they were each a separate business unit. And in every business unit, we had an engineering group which was implementing these projects. And in every project, there were more than 50,000 hours. And these projects were implemented on different continents and in different countries. It could be the oil and gas complex or a new platform, and here we are in the 21st century, we have the switch. And on this platform, we had a system of electrification and automation, and the risks here are huge. And we had a moment when the company restructured this business, and we have left just a front office for every industry, and the back office, the implementing of the projects, were consolidated into two international engineering centers. The first center was created in India, it is huge, and the second center is in the Czech Republic. And the key competences here, it is the engineers, programmers, and the project managers, of course. And these risks are huge. The projects are very expensive. And when we consolidated the work in two centers, we decreased the amount of documents, we consolidated the best practices about best knowledge, and we have created the flow of specialists and the flow of knowledge. Earlier, we had separate projects as a separate flow for the oil and gas, separate flow for the shipbuilding, and so on. But now we have the united flow of competences, and we have shown that Russia is a very good place to open the third such center. It was very difficult to persuade the investors of that, but we here showed our potential in terms of the such materials as mathematics, physics, and so on. And after that, we proceeded to the choice of the city where will be located this center. We have analyzed 18 cities in details. We have visited 11 cities, and we have met universities, the regional administrations, and we are very grateful to the administrations of these regions because we have been welcomed there, and they showed us their regions from the best sides. But we were looking for three keys competences: engineers, automotive workers, and programmers. And they should speak English, because it is impossible to produce a Russian project in Russia and to translate it afterwards. Because every engineer from the center, if it is necessary, should get on the plane and fly in Europe and sometimes on other continents to meet the client. And so the factor of choosing of the place, it was the logistics, the time to travel. For example, the city of Tomsk. It's a beautiful place, but we just calculated how many hours the engineer from Tomsk will fly to Barcelona. Well, it is rather expensive. So we have created a large matrix where we have calculated the money, the competences, and the time, and so on. And we have tried to digitalize this. And we have come to conclusion that Kaliningrad is an ideal place in terms of the price, in terms of the distances, and so on. Because we can't just open our center in a place where there is nobody and hope that people will move there afterwards. But unfortunately, in Russia, we have no place that we can find in Russia that had some competences and language competences. Why I am saying here about that? We have to create such competences for export, and the measures of the state support are very important here, because the Ministry of Industry have helped us a lot, and we are counting on this support further. So here, based on these criteria, we have formed a short list of the cities, and we have analyzed everything, including, for example, the costs of accommodation, the costs of the living for families, and so on. And so we have chosen Kaliningrad. And when we have chosen Kaliningrad, we understood that everything is in English, and the next slides are in English on purpose, because the base university is the Kant University. It's not very strong from the point of view of engineering competences, but the Ministry of Industry is ready to support it, and around this university we can create the competences we need. So first of all, we need to form an educational program. We have good bachelors here, but as a rule, they don't speak English. So from this point, we have to educate them to get an education in English. And after that, we have created a 2-year programs, and Tech helped us a lot, and we have created this program on the basis of the Kant University. And here you see 3 key professions here. So the programming isn't a problem, really. We have wonderful programmers in Kaliningrad even. And so here we have the competences. We have the lists of these competences, and we have found out where these competences are taught the best. And the position of our foreign colleagues were as follows. We have to find just the best students, and we have to get them to foreign universities, for example, in Australia. Let's take the students and send them to study there abroad. But our position is not like that. Our position is that we take the professors, the teachers from there, from foreign countries, and we bring them here, because we have to create the project which collaborates with Europe and which are on the same level with the European projects in terms of the regulatory documentation. And of course, we have to work here in Russia for that. And the fundamental preparation is better in Russia. In Tomsk, for example, they are preparing good specialists, but they are not ready to prepare them in English. And for example, there is a Czech university which is not the best, and it is not better than Tomsk or Tech, but they understand the competences that are necessary for European markets. So it just briefly. Thank you for your attention. Thank you very much. So let's proceed to the regional subjects. And Alexandra, please tell us about Udmurtia region and the amount of your export of produced goods is more than 60%, and you are implementing a very complex approach to this development. Could you please share this approach and talk a bit about your region? Thank you very much. Good morning, dear colleagues. We have a presentation here. So the region of Udmurtia is a part of the global world, and this is not just a motto, it's a manual actually. And first of all, it is oriented towards our entrepreneurs because, you know, at the beginning, Andrei told that one of the experts, I think it's Mr. Vorobyov, told him that we cannot sell, we don't know how to do it. And I like the term mental chewing gum. So we are using this chewing gum when we are persuading ourselves that we don't know how to do something. So we were saying ourselves that we will not succeed in the Olympic Games, we were telling that we can't play football and so on. But when we see the entrepreneurs and the businessmen who are without special tools or support, and that they are going on to European or Asian markets and they're successful on these markets, we can understand that we know how to do it, we can do that, but we just have to talk about it. We have to say it out loud. So that's why I'm very happy to see a lot of businessmen here, a lot of businesses. And these businesses can show that we can sell on the global market. And so our motto, the Republic of Udmurtia, is a part of the global world. It's not just a motto, it's a manual. So when we were doing this presentation, my team said that these places that you see here are very sad, apart perhaps that we have the second place in the rating of the regions concerning export. And the quantity of 5 business missions is not really big. But our position is as follows. We are just fixing what the situation of today. And today we can say that, yes, we are losing the competition to another regions for now. But our moderator said that the competence is a threat. But it's not right. The competition is not a threat. It's a possibility. It's always a possibility. And the key phrase was here is to go to a Chinese market is difficult and so on and so on, but you learn to work. So I haven't written down this phrase, but I think the competition is the ideology when people develop when they are going out of the comfort zone. And so, for example, the region of Tatarstan has 7 or 8 representative offices abroad, and compared to that, our image is not really bright, and we accept it, but we have our tasks, we have our goals, and we are oriented towards the competitors. So that's why the competition is great, and we have achieved good results during this year, and this is only the beginning. Now about our champions. The presentation was created after the 1st of July when we are outplayed Spain, and so that's what's our mood. Why are we speaking about particular enterprises in this presentation? I return to the statement of Mr. Vorobyev, this expert, who says that we cannot sell. Here, for example, unmanned aircraft. It was exported very successfully from Udmurtia Republic, and the growth of the production in 2017 was 264%. And also we have a unique enterprise which is called Pruzhina, and they have a great amount of production which is being sold not only in the former URSS but abroad. Also, we have the mechanical plant in Chepetsk. It's the enterprise number 1 in the world, producing the products from zirconium. And we have to say that the production of this mechanical plant is used in the engines by Ferrari. And it is rather astonishing because here you have zirconium and you are number 1 in the world, and you just can fight for the traditional markets and grow. But they are all looking wider. And also we are paying a lot of attention to small enterprises because it's more difficult for them to go abroad. But we have some successful examples here, and they are precious for us because based on them, we are creating the manuals and the instructions for the small enterprises, how to create the demand for their production. And TS Prof, the company, it's a knife sharpener. Actually, it's not a very amazing product, but they created this product, a knife sharpener, and they are created a concept of this product, and they are selling it very successfully. And the owners of this company, without any tools, actually conquer the foreign markets. And almost this company, Gymnastic Fantastic, provides the costumes for the sportsmen, sportswomen for all over the world in 89 countries of the world. And so this is the balance in the economy, because we understand that when a big company loses some income, it is very bad for the state and for the region. But the small enterprises, they are more difficult to manage, but they create the balance. And we are creating new projects. It is very important for us. We are always looking for new instrument of support of the exporters. And on this slide, you see our successful examples. And on the 16th of July, we will gather some conclusions. And we have this Platz company, a very successful company, and it's a great case that should be transformed in a manual how to go on the market. The Splat company took 5 little enterprises from the city of Novgorod and 5 enterprises from the Udmurtia region and 3. So it wasn't just coaching and consulting. The task was here to take the enterprise and to lead them from the beginning to the contracts. And these enterprises signed the contracts for export. And I repeat, it is great to see the real businessmen here on this event. And we should continue this tutoring and counseling thing. This experience is just great. I was talking with our entrepreneurs, and they are very glad about it, because it was during the years that we were trying to get to them and to get some precise result. And so our project here, which will be started in the beginning of August, and the region of Udmurtia has a lot of military industries there. And we know that there is a task given by the president to increase by 30% this industry towards 2020. So it is very important to support the military enterprises. And also the enterprises that are producing competitive civil production. So I think in the nearest years we will get some very good results. So it's the conclusion. During this year we were working and we have found some fundamental principles of our collaboration with businesses and exporters. And we have found out some inconveniences, actually. First of all, one of the main trends that we are supporting and promoting, it's thinking out of the box. It's a very great problem because the businesses are creating the frames for themselves, the limits, and they are saying to themselves that, well, we don't know how to sell abroad. So they are creating the limits for themselves. And we have created the brand of Udmurtia, made in Udmurtia. Udmurtia is a territory of sport and so on. We have the center of design. And we have understood that the entrepreneurs have known this competence to create a style, to create a design, to wrap their products. Because it is very important for external markets. And we have more than 100 participants of this project, made in Udmurtia. And I would like to conclude with that we will have in Ijevsk and in Udmurtia Day of Firearms in July, and it will be a forum for military and civil production. I invite you there. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. But if we are talking about your region, you said that your base is not really great from the point of view from the growth. So what should we do in your region in order to expand the export not twice perhaps, but tenfold? What is critical for you? because Splat is a great company, but it's not really big enough. Why it is not big enough? This experience can be extrapolated to other businesses. We can pack it as a big system product and to create it together with the government of the region of Udmurtia. So the experience of this company is enough for everybody, actually. It can be shared. We have everything of that. We have some measures of support. We have a lot of talented people. I haven't spoken about it because I have spoke a lot about Mr. Ivan Klabukov. We are saying that we have some threats, we don't know how to do something, but an entrepreneur from Izhevsk managed to pack an idea, not a product even, but just an idea. He has packed it in such a way that he has found $60,000 on the platform Kickstarter.com. So people should be motivated. You know what will happen next in Russia? There will be a football boom. Everybody will play. So we have a motive, we have an emotion, and now together we should see these examples and to promote them in every format. And the deputy minister said rightly that today is a time of opportunities and possibilities. So just get from the couch and just get to work. We are the directors of our lives. We should create the means of support and motivate people, and all the rest depends on them.
Now let's turn back to businesses. Mr. Renier is present today. He is a vice president from Samara Electroshield. Mr. Renier, you have a very good localization experience. It is very nice. Could you please share with us what is your view on what Russia has to make in order to enter global markets, and the regional and federal experience that we have? Is it sufficient, or we really have to learn to do something new? Thank you very much.
Opportunity to talk about Samara Electrosheet and to express my view about what the country may do to support the export and what the company may do to develop their business outside of the country. So first of all, Samara Electrosheet is a company located in Samara, one of the biggest in the world for electrical manufacturing of electrical equipment, medium voltage, low voltage. This is 6,000 people over there and having a turnover of 17 billion rubles. And we are doing 10% of our business outside of Russia. So we have a pretty good experience in the country and a pretty good experience outside of the country in the CIS, but not only. We are working in Cuba, we are working in the Middle East, we are working in Southeast Asia. We're at a small scale that we would like to develop again. So the questions that you have asked about what Russia may do to ease the development of the business outside of Russia is the following. I have summarized it because my colleagues have already touched some points. So for the electrical, okay. I have that one, okay. Coming back to Samara Electrosheet, when I said to you that this is a big company, this is a 2 kilometers long premises close to the Volga River. Okay, we are working in the country as many of you in the oil and gas business, but in the industry, in the power generation and the infrastructure. Those big companies, you know them, they are the flag of Russia Rosatom, Gazprom, Novatec, those very big companies, we are working with them. And the Samara Electrosheet is doing that kind of things. Just a moment. Okay, this is electrical equipment outside. Okay, let's go to the main content. Okay, here it is my remarks. So the first, you know that the world is managed by norms, and norms are protecting Russia. Ghost certificate, ghost norms were protecting Russia from export, which is very nice somehow, but now it's a drawback, because when Russia would like to export, we have only ghost certificate to show, and the world is driven by IEC standard. The difficulty that we have is if you would like to test your product, you have laboratory in Moscow who can do, but they cannot deliver you IEC certificate. You have to pay twice. You have to pay for your ghost certificate. You have to pay to send your product in Germany or in Finland or in Bulgaria, whatsoever. And this is big cost. And small company cannot afford it at all. So this laboratory in Moscow should be certified by IEC, and we can solve the problem. So this is the main remarks for our business, Electrical One. You have not talked about XR. When you are doing exports, you need to deliver credit to your customer. They are asking that from you. And if you are a company, medium-sized company, money is a problem. How you can do that credit without taking any risk? You need an insurance. France is doing it with COFAS. Germany is doing it with Hermes. Russia is doing it now with XR. But this is not known. This is not too much promoted, and the cost is high. So the cost should be reduced, and the promotion should be probably developed to help Russian companies to deliver credit in a safe manner outside of Russia. Another recommendation is for our big groups in Russia, Rosatom, Gazprom, which are doing businesses outside of Russia, in Africa, in Middle East. They are investing, they are doing job. They are not bringing with them Russian company, their supplier. They supply their product, not for all, but in the foreign countries. So why not to support the local player to do export with them? This is what other companies are doing in Europe. When they are exporting, they are bringing with them their company. A point which has been raised by ABB, I would say, this is education. We should never forget that trading is human relationship. First, you should have a good product, nice, okay. You should have a good money to promote it, very nice. But what you need is to interact with people outside of the country. How you can interact? Do you have the language? Already it's an issue, because not so many people are speaking English in Russia. And second, this is the aim, your capacity to interact with the people. The European people has done that for long. They have people which are coming in the country, they are bringing the relationship, and when they are coming back to their country, you have easy link with the business. This is simple, but this is so efficient to have possibility to interact with your future customer. So this is what I'm asking briefly to the government with humility. The next slide. Yes. Now the other part, what the company may do to do export. First of all, it is very rare that you have the product that everybody would like to have in the world. You develop it, and big, it is the one that you can make money with. In many cases, this is hard work. This is a lot of failures. First, to develop a product that, okay, will be accepted by the market. So better to be good in your country before targeting to do business outside of your country. And later on, you cannot do business without any vision, where to go. It's nice that the government is pushing all the company in Russia to develop export. But you should develop your own vision as a company. What I will do, which kind of product, which kind of solution, which kind of services I can develop. And this is my next remark. In Russia, we don't have a DNA of marketing. The aim to beat the competition, the aim to understand the market, to segment it, to frame it in pieces, and to make it simple for the actions. This is something that probably we have to develop more and more in Russia, this marketing behavior. What I have said before, the business is not something one shot. You can do one shot business. This is very nice. You can dream, you make a big money on it. But normally, this is a long run. You have to invest in the relation. You have to invest. You have to probably set up a company outside. You have to set up a bureau. You have to invest to make it happen. So to do it in 4 or 5 years, this is not easy. You mentioned it. Not easy to multiply by 2, by 3, by 4 the business, because everything is connected as well with relations. And a key element, probably the most important one, is the development of the people. No business can be done without people, without education, without training, without care. So I recommend companies to care about their own people and their competencies. And the last one, okay, this is obvious, but when you are doing business, when you are doing export, you should earn money. And your earning of today is the investment of tomorrow. This is something that we should never forget. Not easy to make business, not easy to make profit. It's not easy in Russia, but believe me, it's not easy to make it outside of Russia.
Спасибо большое.
Как кажется. Thank you very much.
And, as the last one especially was quite good in relation to the earned money. Я так думаю, да, у нас сегодня было очень много.
Очень важно. Yes, indeed, we had a lot of said about how the government is supporting the businesses, but at the same time, the companies are to work as well. Now, I would like to look at experts. We have 2 representatives of trade offices. They are the ones focusing on the industrial development, on the support measures. I'd like to start with Alexander Abramov. He is a Russian trade representative in Sweden. Could you please share with us your perspective on exports development? What is your role?
Да, уважаемые коллеги, добрый день. Мы подготовили такую.
We have prepared a little presentation which is called How to Enter the Swedish Market. What I would like to say first? We have presented some materials that are available on our website. And one of these materials is called the Certification of the Products for the Swedish Market. And then we have shown a business case, how the product went from the certification and through all the proceedings and got all the necessary certificates. And also we have prepared a document which is called the Cultural Peculiarities of the Negotiations with the Swedish Partners, because in every country there are some characteristic particularities. And this information, I think, will shorten a bit the way for a potential exporter and will help not to make mistakes, which will not, well, guarantee, but will provide some success in the future. And so we will start. How to enter the Swedish market? The switch isn't working here. The next slide, please. So just briefly about the country. The population of the Sweden is 10 million people. Compared to Russia, it isn't big, but the Sweden is one of the leaders in GDP, and the specifics of the local market is a very high purchasing capacity, and the Swedish economy is dependent on the export and is built on the export from Sweden. And what is characteristic here? It is the export of big industry giants. It's about 20% of export, but all the rest is the small and medium enterprises, which are very deeply in the international business. And these Swedes are have very high requirements towards themselves, and also the requirements to the services and to the products are very high during all the life cycle of the products. And here we would like to emphasize that these high requirements towards themselves are the reason of a lot of social demands in the country. And all of this together is yet a very high barrier of the access to this market from the point of view of the compliance. So in order to get there, you should be of a very high standard. First of all, the professional associations and unions are very strong in this country, and they are saying how such industry or another industry will work. And without the collaboration with these unions, it is impossible to build export of services. So, for example, if we are talking about the organization of construction on Swedish market, you have to be a member of a lot of professional associations and unions, which is for today a big barrier for us. But we have some examples, some good examples, but not with our country, unfortunately. We have the company of the CIS countries, the builders who are working on the Swedish market and are calling us to do as well. And the Swedish people are very meticulous. They study all the offers meticulously, and the delay of response for your request is very long. For example, here I have written that you should appoint a meeting a month ago, but actually as soon as this Swedish businessman understands that you are worth his time, he will take a decision. But the accent here is not really about the production. It is very important to have the services. And they are paying a lot of attention to the ecology and the condition of the labor on your enterprise. And the anti-corruptional policy is also very important. It should be declared by the enterprise. It's just the part of the requirements that the Swedish people are for themselves and for the partners. If we are talking about the timber industry, for example, the Swedish company will never buy the timber which was produced by poachers. They have to have the certificate that and the proofs that it was produced legally in compliance with the legislation of the country where the resource was produced. Today, we think that the priority industries of the development of the export and the trade with Sweden, it's of course the building materials and the building of the infrastructure. We are communicating with different enterprises, and here they need, for example, the concrete works, concrete constructions, and some metal frameworks, and they have very wide plans of construction, and they need some specific professions. For example, builders, divers, for example, and there are a lot of enterprises that are interested in our specialists. Also, they need some fabricated metals. There is a trend in Europe that the opportunity of receiving a prepared product by models is very precious. They want the builder to just mount the construction and not to saw, not to cut, and all of that. And also the railways construction is a very particular topic. We are working with the productions of the rails, and this way was rather difficult because we have some competitors from Austria, and they have occupied this market. And we are working on this question. And I think that the main topic on which we are working hard today, it is to promote the Russia for the Swedish investment, especially in terms of the house building. Because in Sweden they have some examples of the wooden building of 8, 9 floors. And they have the regulatory base for that. I can't say what we can do here until the end to 2019. The Ministry of Building should elaborate the documents for that, but we are organizing now business missions from several regions that Swedish enterprises are ready to welcome from the point of view of building and the production of the high-rise wooden buildings. I'm sorry, Alexei, we have no time. Just name us 3-5 key points, perhaps. And from the last success stories that we can emphasize here, at the 20th of July, the sales of the small-sized ships began to Sweden. And of course, these ships were very good on the inner market, and the trade offices has helped us to get these ships to Swedish expositions. From the point of view of organization, they can do a lot, and they do it. And so the production is being realized successfully in this country, and the perspectives are really good there. It's not a secret that the World Cup of football is ending here, and we are seeing a lot of interest from Sweden towards Russia in any industries. And before the championship, when you just talked with any Sweden, they could begin to describe Russia from some bad points. And this is our problems. When we say Russia, everybody says corruption. But when you are talking with Swedish and even with people who were living here and working here, they say that there is corruption. And we are asking them, have you seen corruption in your country or in another country? No, I haven't. So we are thinking about how to overcome this bad image of Russia. But the championship has helped us in it. And we are organizing on the 20th of September the first Russian-Swedish travel forum, for example, and we are inviting all the regions there. And just a bit of the requirements of the Swedish markets. Okay, we will do that in the end because the time is coming to the end. But just a very important question, just the last. The question of certification, because our colleague from Schneider Electric said that our standards should be unified. But what is the situation with certification today? It's very important that we have an enterprise in the Baltic region which is certifying the machine production. And they are speaking English and they speak in Russian also, so it is very important to use their services. So the export is a very important task. It is achievable. And as you said, we just have to work and we are doomed to succeed. So 2-3 minutes, Alexei Shatilov, the trade representatives in Algiers. The Africa is a very big priority for us, and the growth was successful in the last 3-5 years.
Thank you very much. Yes, we're now finally turning to Africa, and I am pleased that we are doing that. Undoubtedly, all of us have a task to promote non-commodity exports and to enter international markets. We have here about 50 trade representatives at this exhibition. We have very complicated tasks to fulfill. Algeria has a lot of requirements, and the economy of Algeria and Russia are different in terms of the possibilities to help each other. Algeria is also one of the major exporters of gas to Europe. They are the third after Russia and Norway. That is why our main job is to promote non-commodity exports. Over the years of my experience working in Algeria, the trade has increased more than sixfold, and over the last year it has increased by a factor of 2.5. Here, what was important is an integrated support for our export activities. That means the governmental support and also the support of specially created institutes like the Russian Export Center. And Andrei, we are thankful to your organization for the activities that you have organized and fulfilled during the visits of the Prime Minister and during the President. That was a fuel to our export activity. I also want to say that here at Innoprom, we have a very good opportunity to promote our export activities. Over the last couple of years, we've held major meetings. A visit of the Ministry of Industry of Algeria was organized, and he met his Russian counterpart. A lot of business meetings were held yesterday, And here at Innoprom, we also held a Russian-Algerian business summit. We had more than 200 participants, actually, and that is important. We have direct interaction, and we are promoting the goods. Yes, our trade is increasing, but we have to understand that the pace of this growth is not sufficient. We also have to look at the full range of support instruments and what instruments are needed now, what is lacking. I think that there is lack of financial support. The thing is, now we are in a worse position compared to other countries like France, for example, Italy, or any other country coming to Algeria. There is not a single Russian bank that is operating in the Algerian market. Our Russian banks have shown their interest in Algeria, and we hope that in the nearest time, thanks to the support from the Russian Export Center, we could actually see a Russian market in a Russian bank, at the Algerian market, and that would facilitate the exports from Russia. Algerian market is complicated. Algerian currency has problems with conversion. So you think that the presence of a Russian bank in Algeria is something that would help the exports? Yes, indeed. Thank you very much. Now, summarizing the entire session that we have, I would like to give the floor to Andrei Slepnov. Now you have listened and you've heard what people said and your colleagues said, so please give us a short summary. Actually, a lot has been done already, and maybe I should even dwell upon it for a longer period of time, but the main issue here is to believe in yourself, and we have to create the so-called modules of exports. We have to show federal and regional efforts. It is very good that our export project is among the main presidential projects, and that indicates that we are having the right priorities right now. We need to provide the instruments in order to abide by this program and its targets. This is a creative job. It is actually a non-linear job. We need business initiative. We need the initiative from the support institutions, the initiative of trade offices. This is a very ambitious goal. We unfortunately criticized Sergei Vorobyov a little bit, and he said that we need to create this special trend so that there is motivation, there is activity to work actively, and we are going to do our job in this manner, and we hope that will result in successful achievements. Regarding specific achievements and goals, we have certain goals that are intended to expand the instruments for logistics and testing. Regarding ABB and what they mentioned before, we are now comprising a list of special issues to be discussed. And the initiative that we're looking at is the following: so that Russian universities have at least 20 or 30% of classes given to them in English. The thing is that if people with the higher education cannot speak any English, then we cannot really speak about global inclusion of Russia and global exports for Russian companies. Regarding the promotion of the idea of experts, we are now including more efforts in that field, and maybe now at Innoprom we will organize a contest like a regional exporter, the best exporter. We can select the best companies, then they can be coaches for other companies. We can share best practices in this regard, and we are grateful for the work of the professionals who are providing the support. Regarding certification and the compliance to international standards, this is a very sensitive matter, actually. We often speak about the market protection. Still, we will have to do something with this area as well. And now, I would like to address the companies that are present here now. We need to promote the system of relations between the region and a trade office. This is a very systemic work. One thing is just to have one example of achievements, but when you have a real conveyor of achievements, you have a lot of windows that are opening for you, windows of opportunities. It is very important to work fully fledged. Our companies want inspiration, knowledge, and support. They say, please find a partner for us. Please help us enter a market. And here it is our job to do that. Thank you. Thank you very much for your summary, colleagues. Thank you very much. We hope that all these comments will be considered by the Ministry.